Mets begin the long Labor Day weekend in Atlanta, a place where they have not enjoyed a whole lot of success, but things a little bit tighter now for the Mets. They've been in first place since before Memorial Day. Look who's back and could be on the mound for the Mets on Monday in Cincinnati. But first things first here in Atlanta, the Mets have to try and conquer the Braves, with their lead having shrunk to just 2 games in the National League East. And the Braves looking to do the same kind of damage against the Mets that the Phillies did for the last 4 days at Citizens Bank Park. The Mets try to snap a 5-game losing streak, matching their longest of the year. At Turner Field in Atlanta, CW11 Sports presents New York Mets baseball. Tonight, the Mets play the Atlanta Braves, and a check of the standings in the National League East finds the Mets, who had a 7-game lead just 5 days ago, just 2 games up on the Phillies and 4.5 over Atlanta. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Turner Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets open a 3-game weekend series against the Braves. But there's big news besides the Mets and Braves tonight. Pedro Martinez threw a bullpen session today here in Atlanta, and there's every chance that he's going to pitch for the Mets Labor Day afternoon in Cincinnati.
Well, Pedro was great today. He was throwing his fastball. He's throwing all of his breaking pitches to both sides of the plate. If he feels great tomorrow, he has a chance to pitch Monday in Cincinnati. And why on Monday? Well, El Duque, after yesterday's performance, went back to New York, and he had a cortisone shot in his right foot. And then in tomorrow's ball game, Mike Pelfrey will get to start at 0-7 in the 9 starts this year.
Duque is officially listed day-to-day, but he may miss a start, so the Mets rotation in a bit of flux right now, and not at a good time because the Mets have lost 5 straight after a 4-game series in which everything went wrong in Philadelphia.
Well, the one thing about the series, the last game at least, the Mets showed a lot of fight. They came back twice from deficits, and it was a crushing defeat for them and a very heartbreaking one. They have to turn the page. They're here in Turner Field where they haven't fared well, and they've lost 2 series here already this season, so they need to turn it around right here and stop this losing streak.
And the assignment tonight goes to John Maine, who goes after his 14th win of the season. Maine appeared to have his fastball back in his last start against the Dodgers on Sunday night. Maine will pitch for the Mets. 15-game winner Tim Hudson, who had his 9-game winning streak stopped at his last start, will go for the Braves. Mets and Braves opening a weekend series at Turner Field. All the action coming up on the CW11. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by the Lexus ES350 and your local Lexus dealers. By Verizon, working for you. By Audi, truth in engineering. By K&G Fashion Superstores, for men, for women, for less. By GMC, engineered to the highest standard, professional grade. And by KFC, let the Colonel do the cooking. Tim Hudson having a marvelous season, tied for the league lead in wins with 15. And he'll try and beat the Mets for the 3rd time this season. And here's your Toyota starting lineup for the Mets. Andy Chavez gets another start in right field. Luis Castillo, who sat out yesterday, back in the lineup at second base. Paul LaDuca back behind the plate. Moises Alou back in left field as the Mets go with their A lineup tonight against Hudson.
You got to go to the whip.
Jose Reyes just 1 for his last 16 as he steps in. And Hudson gets it underway by missing the inside corner with a fastball, 1-0. Reyes' average down to .295 on the season. And he takes a strike, 1-1.
Well, Met fans, you might want to close your ears as I tell you a little bit about Tim Hudson. Since his debut in June of '99, only one pitcher has won more games than he, Greg Maddux, at 136. And in August, he's 32-9. That's second all time.
And a good fastball from Hudson. In at the knees for a strike, 1-2.
And that's that good sinker ball. Hudson's only given up 5 home runs in the this season, which is incredible. And 183 2/3.
1-2 to Reyes, and it's just off the corner, 2-2. Well, Hudson in his last start against the Cardinals lost a game in which he had a 3-0 lead. It was only the 2nd time in his career he had ever lost a game in which he had a 3-run lead. He's now 95-2 in such games as Reyes pulls one down to first, and the 2-time Gold Glover Mark Teixeira makes the play. 1 away. I mean, think about that. 95-2, and that's, you know, it was 95-1.
When he is in the game and his team scores 4 runs while he's still in there, he's 111-4.
This is your Nissan Braves defense. So you got Teixeira, the two-time Gold Glover at first base. As Gary told you, he's made a huge difference in this lineup since coming over from Texas. And as you know, Escobar at shortstop is really a phenomenal young player.
Luis Castillo got the day off yesterday. He's hitless in his last 10 at-bats. He's been struggling a bit since he tweaked his knee last week and had to sit out a couple of games. He takes the breaking ball high, 1-1.
Well, that was really interesting to me. The first batter of the game for the Mets, Jose Reyes, grounds out, shaking his head, very upset, and took him forever to get back into the dugout. It's only 1 out. Can't be despondent now. He's 26 more.
This is too critical a game right here. You've got to come and play much like, and I must say, how David Wright played the game yesterday. That was one of the finest performances I've seen. He almost willed the Mets to victory. And you look at Jose there. He hit that ball hard. Jose, of course, now in a 1 for 16.
Castillo claimed that he was hit by that last pitch and started down toward first base, and he was called back by the home plate umpire, Mike Riley. As he slaps one to short, Escobar is right in front of it, taking his time and throws on Castillo by a stride. 1 away, 2 away. And David Wright coming up. See that previous pitch, Castillo claiming that ball hit him, and he headed down to first base.
Sure didn't look like it hit him.
No.
I tell you what, this is the fastest infield in the National League. It ball just moves through here.
Well, here's David Wright. David, the last 2 days, 5 hits in 7 at-bats, and he has been front and center for this team, even through its struggles the last few days. Hitting a .319 for the year now, 8th in the National League, 6th in the league in on-base percentage at .414.
But he's not player of the month of August, and someone's going to having a hellacious year. I mean, he is. I mean, a month. He is just wearing it out.
It's interesting. The two players are probably battling for that are on the same field.
Yep.
Teixeira at first base for the Braves.
And Wright hits it toward the middle, but Escobar slides over and makes the play. 3 ground ball outs for Tim Hudson. That's his stock in trade, and the Mets are done quickly in the opening inning. John Maine will take them out against the Braves in the bottom of the first. We go to the bottom of the first inning as we check out our BMW keys to the game, brought to you by your local BMW dealers.
Always had a hard time playing here in Atlanta. Going to have to have a good series. Reyes is already 0 for 1 in this game and finished the game. 2 blown saves, and that one yesterday, of course, where Billy Wagner had to get 6 outs, wasn't able to, only got 4.
John Maine on the mound for the Mets tonight. And by the way, if you were thinking the Mets were going to get help from the Florida Marlins, Phillies 5, Marlins nothing in the second inning.
Well, those kind of wins the Phillies had over the, as you look at the lineup here. Go ahead, Gare, sorry.
The Toyota starting lineup. Mark Teixeira, 32 RBIs. That ties a Braves record for any calendar month. Kelly Johnson takes a strike from John Maine. Johnson having himself a terrific year, hitting a .289. And he fouls a fly ball down the left field line and out of play, 0-2. Johnson had never played second base before this spring training. The Braves took a gamble, moved him there, let Marcus Giles go, and it has turned out to be a brilliant move. 1-2 to Johnson.
Well, Johnny Maine, some positive numbers for him now. He is 8-2 on the road this season with a 3.5 ERA and 9-3 following 12 Met losses. So he's pitched very well after his team has lost.
And Ronnie, in his last start Sunday night against the Dodgers, he lost the game 6-2, but it looked like he had his fastball back.
Just like Perez did 3 starts ago. He finally looked like he had a little hop on it. As that one, some serious hop as it gets by LaDuca. I just think that, you know, he got a little in between how he wanted to pitch. He's incorporating all these new pitches, slider and changeup. And sometimes you can have too many pitches.
Pulled hard and past Delgado into right field. A base hit for Kelly Johnson. That ball hit so hard that Delgado didn't react till that ball was by him.
Well, and a changeup right there and up and over the middle. And Kelly Johnson continues to hit. And boy, what an addition to this ball club.
What I was saying about having too many pitches, sometimes you have so many pitches that you're not as aggressive as you usually were. And Johnny Maine, early in the season, one of his trademarks is going right after the hitters, especially the first time through the order.
So Johnson aboard, and here's Matt Diaz, who has just had a great season. He's hitting .354. Still not playing every day. Willie Harris shares left field with Diaz, but Diaz getting the start against the right-hander tonight.
Well, Diaz has always been a thorn in the Mets side. Every time Mets seem to play, he's in the lineup, he gets hits.
And the slider swung and missed.
This is not a real speedy team. Willie Harris leads the team with stolen bases with 11, and Kelly Johnson is second with 9, and he's been thrown out 4 times.
Johnson more of an on-base leadoff hitter than a Reyes type leadoff hitter. His on-base percentage coming into the night at .389, and that's why he's inherited that spot the days Harris doesn't play. 1-1 to Diaz.
You know, Ron, we were talking about John before the game, and what's really hurt him is, number one, been the long ball, and he's walked too many people of late.
You know, he has 60 walks. If he was going to pitch a full 200+ inning year, that'd be up around 100.
The Mets have played 4 series against the Braves this year. They have lost 2 out of 3 in every one of those series. In each one of them, they've split the first 2 games and then lost the rubber game. Johnson runs, Diaz swings and misses, blown hit and run play, and Johnson's tagged out by Castillo. So Maine came up and in, Diaz couldn't handle it, and Johnson pays the price. 2-4 on the caught stealing, 1 away.
Well, Bobby Cox being aggressive here early, puts the hit and run on, and just a tough pitch for Diaz to hit up and in out of the strike zone. Nice tag put on by Castillo.
So there's some help from Maine. 1 out and nobody on.
Also, Bobby Cox letting you know how he's going to play this series. Very aggressive.
And Diaz lays off the slider. 2-2.
Pressure applied.
Well, the Mets fell behind early yesterday, 5-0, and showed a lot of fighting coming back. As Diaz goes down swinging, and that's the second out. But you would think they could ill afford to fall far behind with Hudson on the mound against them today.
Good slider there from John. Yeah, with Hudson falling behind, also you really used that bullpen in that 4-game series against the Phillies.
And you would have to assume that Wagner's probably not available today after 45 pitches yesterday, although you don't know that for certain. Chipper Jones having a terrific year as he steps in. He missed a month with injuries, and he's hurt right now. He's got a groin problem, he's got a shoulder problem, but Chipper has said, look, I've got to play right now. And he continues to put up impressive numbers. 1-1.
We got a .418 on base percentage. Hitting .332 as you saw. 22 bombs.
Well, we saw Pat Burrell with his 41 home runs, 4 home runs in that series against the Mets, and Chipper certainly has done damage in all the big spots against the Mets over the years.
And he's hurt the Mets this year.
Hit a home run against Maine when he started against him at Shea, but Maine strikes him out with a changeup. Back-to-back strikeouts for Maine, and the opening inning is over. So Maine gives up a leadoff base hit. A blown hit and run play hurts the Braves, and Maine strikes out a pair. Second inning, Carlos Beltran will lead off against Tim Hudson in a scoreless game. Hudson got 3 ground ball outs in the first inning, and Beltran takes ball 1. Carlos with 25 home runs, 85 driven in. And he hits it up the middle, base hit. And the Mets have their first base runner of the night. So Beltran aboard to lead off against Hudson, a pitcher he's done awfully well against over the years. And Moises Alou will step in.
Sinker ball, and just not away enough. Good hitting by Carlos. And let's see if the Mets are going to play a little offense here and get the Carlos, of course, with 18 stolen bases. See if they're going to try to make things happen.
Lou hitting at .313. He's got a 6-game hitting streak going. And he's done well against Hudson. 5 for 11, including a home run. And he takes a strike.
Whoa. Hudson hasn't thrown a ball above the knees yet, has he? Wow.
I think Moises thought that ball was low. I thought it nipped the knees.
Well, that's Mr. Hudson's neighborhood. Good stop by McCann. 1-1. Now Lou lifts one to right, and Frank Kerr's right there waiting. And that's the first out. Beltran back to first with one away. So Lou retired, and it brings up Carlos Delgado.
Well, Carlos so far in this road trip has showed signs of coming out. 6 for 15 in Philly with a home run and 4 RBI. Those are not Delgado-like numbers that he's accustomed to. Really having an off year.
He's got 5 career home runs against Tim Hudson, but the last one came when they were both in the American League 3 years ago. Beltran starts and stops, and Delgado takes a strike.
Well, if home plate umpire Mike Riley keeps calling that borderline strike knee high, it's going to be nothing but help for Hudson. Plays right into his game.
Well, we've been talking a lot about Cy Young possibilities this year, and certainly Hudson is right in the middle of that conversation. He's had a great year. Beltran extends to get back to the bag.
Yeah, you have to watch yourself. Hudson has a very quick move. It's well documented. He was a great athlete at Auburn. Also hit when he didn't pitch, and very quick to the plate.
He's having a great hitting year too.
Yeah,
his best since coming over to the National League. He's not a big guy, but a guy who didn't pitch at all until his junior year in high school. He was more a baseball player than a pitcher.
well, I think he's one of the front runners to go along with, Brad Penny, Brandon Webb,
Jake Peavy.
Jake Peavy. Aaron Harang has thrown his hat definitely into the mix.
Harang is having an amazing year in obscurity. 14-3 for the Reds. He won't be obscure to the Mets on Monday. That's who, if Pedro Martinez does pitch, he'll square off against in that Labor Day game. There's a little more on Hudson. Came up, of course, with the A's with Rick Peterson, his mentor in Oakland. And now in his 3rd year with the Braves. Last year was a big disappointment for Hudson, and he has come back very strong.
Well, he said this winter he was going to recommit himself physically. He wanted to make sure that he had that part of his game 100%, and then mentally also. And you saw the last pitch to Delgado. That ball made him move his feet and inside. Hudson does that about as good as anyone in baseball. Makes you very aware inside, both left-handers and right-handed hitters.
1-1. It's slowly down to Teixeira. Gets the out at first, and that's all as Beltran moves up. So 5 outs for Hudson, 4 of them on ground balls. Beltran at second with 2 away. Well, Hudson last year was just 13-12 with an ERA just under 5. But this year he has bounced back and had himself a terrific year. As we mentioned, before he lost to the Cardinals Saturday, he had won 9 in a row. And 2 of those wins this year have come against the Mets. A dominating performance in April when he threw 8 shutout innings, and then a little bit of a shakier one 3 weeks ago at Shea. He gave up 9 hits in 6 innings, but won the game 7-6. Here's Loduca, and he takes a fastball for a strike.
Well, the Mets made him work that game. He really labored, had to throw a lot of pitches. But what Hudson does when he's on top of his game is he's a first pitch strike guy. He's second in the National League. Pitches per inning at 14-1. Max, of course, at 13-5.
One and one to Loduca.
You know who he reminds me in makeup? Because Orel was very slender. It was Orel Hershiser. He didn't have the body of a big go-getter kind of horse of a pitcher, but very aggressive and strike one all the time.
Pretty good curveball, too.
Yeah.
Well, there's the score in Florida. Phillies got a run in the first and 4 in the second off Sergio Mitre. Kyle Kendrick pitching for Philly.
Can their bullpen hold it?
Well, it depends if they have to use Alfonseca and Mesa. I would assume that after a day off yesterday, Myers is available tonight.
Wow.
And Kyle Kendrick's had a nice little rookie season for them. 7-3.
Well, the Phillies have to be feeling awfully good about themselves after that 4-game sweep. With all the injuries they've suffered this year, they've got a nice little spark going. LaDuca shoots it foul just over the dugout. 2-2.
See Paulie trying to shoot that hole into right field. That's when he hits best. He's such a tough strikeout. You look at Endy Chavez, who's starting in right field tonight. And I think, Gary, you were right on the mark about Endy before long was going to be playing a lot more than was told to us.
Well, he started last night, yesterday afternoon, with Alou getting a day off. He played left, and now in right field tonight. 2-2 to LaDuca with Beltran at second and 2 down. Slowly hit to Teixeira. He's had lots of early work. 3-1 putout. 5 ground balls in the first 2 innings for Hudson, and the Mets unable to get Beltran home. No score. Is Endy Chavez out in right field for the Mets, making his 4th appearance since coming off the disabled list.
And your Nissan dealer Met defense. And you can see Chavez in right. Castillo back in the lineup. LaDuca behind the plate. Alou back in left. This is the full court press here for the Mets.
Well, John Maine taking on this powerful Braves lineup, which is second in the National League in runs scored, and Mark Teixeira has made them that much better. He takes ball 1. Teixeira acquired at the trading deadline from Texas, and all he's done in his first month with the Braves is drive in 32 runs, which ties a Braves club record for the most runs driven in any calendar month. Not a bad way to start with your new team. And consider that he had just 13 home runs in Texas. He's had 10 already in a month with the Braves. And he was playing in a whole lot better hitter's ballpark in Texas.
Just like 93 when they got Fred McGriff. Once they got him at the trade deadline, he had 19 home runs, 55 RBIs.
Pulls one down to Delgado, who handles this one. And that's the first out. So 1 out and nobody on. But despite the fact that the Braves are, they've put together a powerful offense and Teixeira has done so well, it has not necessarily translated into wins for the Braves.
Well, they had that 4-6 road trip. They just got off that trip. They lost 3 out of 4 in Cincinnati after winning the opener in that first game of that series, and then they lost 2 out of 3 in St. Louis, and then they won 2 out of 3 in Florida. So they've been kind of sputtering.
Well, they're 13-14 in August. Their bullpen is a disaster. They designated their closer Bob Wickman for assignment during this past week, which just gives you an idea how messed up things were there. Brian McCann's had a good second half, and Maine misses inside 1-1. But the Braves now, they can't have a winning month in August. Today's the last day, and they're a game under 500. This will be their 4th straight non-winning month. McCann late on the fastball, 1-2. During their run of division championships, as you look at that last pitch, during their run of division championships, the Braves never had more than 2 consecutive calendar months in which they failed to have a winning record. So things have changed a little bit. 2-2 to McCann.
And the Mets started April and May like gangbusters, and then losing record in June, losing record in July, and they need to win this game to have a winning record in August.
Mets are 14-13 in August. And that just missed. 3-2 to McCann. 3-2 to McCann. Change up, popped up. Loduca hoping for enough room, and he's got it. 2 down. So 2 out and nobody on. Jeff Francoeur coming up for the Braves. With more on Francoeur, here's Kevin Burkhardt.
Guys, Jeff Francoeur has something in common with Jose Reyes in that they play all the time. He's missed 2 innings all year, and on this just completed road trip, he hit 208, no home runs, and 11 strikeouts. And he admitted to me before the game, you know what, I was tired, to be honest with you. In fact, so much so that I was trying to pull the ball just using my arms, not using my legs. And we know he swings at the first pitch a lot, but he has been getting better this year with discipline. He said, you know what, I swung at the first pitch all the time because I was almost afraid that as the at-bat got longer, I wouldn't be able to catch up with the fastball if I saw it. He didn't take BP Wednesday and then went out and got 2 hits in Florida, had the day off yesterday. He says he feels great. But he told me, you know what, I read that Jose Reyes was doing the same thing, and I could sympathize. I was in the same boat just last week, guys.
He went around on the slider, and it's 1-2.
Well, Francoeur is one of the 3 players in baseball that's played every single game. He, Washington's Ryan Zimmerman, and of course just left Jimmy Rollins of Philadelphia.
Well, there are only 4 hitters in the league who have more hits than Francoeur this year, so he's had himself a fine season.
And he's actually mixed in 33 walks this year.
2-2 for Maine. Fastball just inside. 3-2.
Maine, not Maine, excuse me. Francoeur's played in, 298 consecutive. Big, strong kid. That is for sure. What an athlete.
On the ground through the hole, base hit. Right off the end of the bat. And perfectly placed between Reyes and Wright. That's the 2nd hit off John Maine.
Well, that's a slider he just leaves in the inside part of the plate. See that? When you have just a spinning slider, it's almost like it just sits in the middle of the plate waiting to be hit, and that one there from Francoeur. Looking at Francoeur, I always find it unwise for young hitters or young players in general to talk about their weariness. Don't talk about that kind of stuff. You don't want the other team to have a sense that you feel that way.
It's like the hockey mentality.
Yeah.
You never talk about injury.
That's right.
Well, here's Andrew Jones. Lately, the number 7 hitter for the Braves. Having a terrible year in terms of batting average. He's hitting just .226, but he's driven in 84 runs, 26 home runs. So for a bad year, it's not that bad.
Well, the first half he hit .211 with 15 home runs. And in the second, in July, he hit .263, so he's been kind of coming around.
Loduca sets up inside, and Andrew pulls it foul.
You know, the problem with Andrew, though, is that he is approaching signing a big contract. One of the best center fielders maybe to ever play the game. But the more I see him as he gets later in his career, I think he always will be a run producer. I just don't think he's ever going to hit for a high average. I think it's impossible with a big, long swing like that.
You saw a quick shot of Bobby Cox right there in the dugout. He now is the all-time leader in managerial ejections.
And he'll tack on a lot more before he's done. 1-2 to Andrew. The thing about Bobby Cox is that there is not a call that is made by the umpire, ball strike call, that he does not complain about. I mean, he barks about every strike called against his guys and every ball called for his pitcher. And since the rule book says you're not allowed to argue balls and strikes at all, it's inevitable that eventually you're going to get yourself ejected.
But that's old school because, I mean, the teams I played for, if you were getting, the whole bench would get on umpires. That was just a normal day of events, was to hoot at an umpire. But, you know, now the umpires are a little more sensitive. I remember the days that there were definitely umpires that you didn't get along with. But if you saw most of the umpires after a game, they're in the hotel bar or whatever, you would even send over a beer or something. I mean,
you weren't supposed to, but
2-2 to Andrew, misses away, and it's 3-2.
Ronnie.
Okay, sorry. Now you're going to get everybody in trouble.
I gave the secret. That's the baseball secret.
But here's the question: are you wearing a uniform shirt under your pullover?
That's right.
Don't break that rule. Third straight 3-2 count for Maine, and Andrew fouls it off. How about? I mean, we don't. How about that? I mean, Terry Francona gets pulled out of the dugout in the middle of an inning by some Bobo from Major League Security? Are you kidding me?
And that's after he'd showed Bob Watson his uniform was on earlier before the game. You know, listen, baseball, a lot of times the people that are making the rules of the game don't understand the game. Easy, simple as that.
Andrew fouls it back.
Just that is just about as bad of something I've ever heard done in baseball. Derek Jeter was on second base. He's trying to manage his team in a huge game, and someone's trying to check his shirt.
Hope they don't check Rick Peterson.
That's right.
Can you imagine they did that to Billy Martin?
Oh, well, I think Terry put it best. He said, "I've never been more embarrassed for baseball." You can't put it any better than that. Frank Kerr runs. Andrew goes down swinging at the slider, and John Maine has his third strikeout of the night. So Maine off to a good start here in Atlanta as he tries to match zeros with Tim Hudson. No score as we go to the third. Well, they said there's a chance of showers tonight here in Atlanta. We have not seen any rain falling yet, and the atmosphere around the Mets is a little different today because Pedro's in the building. There was a lot of impromptu singing and screaming and laughing in the clubhouse. Eddie Chavez leads off the third, and Hudson comes into his feet, ball one.
You think in some ways it was after a tough week against Philadelphia, it was maybe good to have Pedro in the clubhouse because he brings such a distraction. You know, he's like a whole carnival in himself, you know, when he comes in the clubhouse.
Chopped off the plate. Hudson's got to wait for it, trying to get Chavez, and he got him. Nice play by Hudson. He knew how quickly he had to get rid of that with Chavez going down the line.
Well, a nice play by Teixeira, too. But, Ronnie, you can probably speak about this play better than I can.
Well,
you're a pitcher.
You have to get in an area where you just got to get rid of it like an infielder. But I think it was a better play by Teixeira, to tell you the truth. Think of that. His arm ripped off, and he got it and ripped his arm out of there and showed why he's a Gold Glover.
Well, he pulled the glove back quick, and John Maine gets up with a big smile on his face. Someone cracked a joke in there. The tendency for anybody on a high hopper is to rush because you know someone's running to first base or the next base, and you can't get the ball any faster than it is to get in your glove. It's hard to stay composed, and Hudson did right there.
One of the things you can do is that when it's up there, you can take your crow hop as it's about to come in your glove, so that's already gone and you can get rid of the throw.
1-1 to Maine, and he chops one toward Chipper. Everything on the ground. Mets have sent 9 men to the plate. 8 of the 9 have hit it on the ground. One of them found a hole. The only guy to hit it in the air was Alou, who flied out in his at bat in the second.
When Hudson's going well, I'll tell you, the outfielders have a very silent day.
Boring day.
Reyes grounded out to Teixeira his first time up. Now just 1 for his last 17. And there wasn't anybody I spoke to last night or today who wasn't curious about Charlie Manuel's decision to walk Reyes in the 8th inning yesterday, putting the lead run on base.
Well, I love Charlie Manuel, but I cannot figure out for the life of me why he put the go-ahead run on base.
And Reyes wound up scoring on a double steal and a throwing error. That was the go-ahead run. Pops this one up. Jones and Diaz takes charge, and that retires the side. So the Mets go down 1-2-3 before Hudson, and Maine's going to have to keep on throwing up zeros. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Home third inning with no score. John Maine, 3 strikeouts in the first 2 innings, but 39 pitches in the first 2 innings.
I wonder how he's feeling. He is really trying to catch his breath right now. This is a different place to pitch because of the humidity, but it's interesting to see him really taking those big gulps of air.
I wonder if he's been affected at all by the flu that's been going around this team. Janelle Escobar leads off. He has done a marvelous job filling in for Edgar Renteria, 24-year-old Cuban defector who has stepped right in seamlessly and may have even upgraded the position, which is a funny thing to say when you're taking over for a player who's 4th in the league in hitting.
Well, they brought Renteria back from the DL, and he re-injured his ankle, and he's back on. And this young man has really stepped it up. And since the All-Star break, he has just been wearing it out.
355 since the break, tops among major league rookies.
I like the way he hits the ball, swings the bat.
Great cut. It's 2-2.
A little bit of an overswing right there. Big cut. A little bit of an overswing here. That's where John Maine, I like John Maine with that high fastball that rides up. Oh, that's a great shot.
Did you duck?
No.
2-2 to Escobar.
In tight, and he hit him.
That hurts.
And he's got that pad on the arm. I don't know if it hit the pad or beside it. John Maine hits his 4th batter of the season. His last start against the Dodgers, he hit Jeff Kent in the helmet, if you'll recall.
This ball just ran in, and that got him in the pad.
Yeah. And it still hurt.
Lucky guys. Wish I had those when I played.
You wouldn't have worn it.
I know. I'd have been an idiot. Wow. Those things work?
His doesn't. The one protective pad he has didn't seem as big as like a Barry Bonds kind of pad. More of a sleeve type.
Right. Not that big hard shelled plastic thing that Bonds and other guys wear.
I'd say I hit Paul Molitor like that one game, and he showed me something because I knew I got him good. I wasn't trying to hit him, it just happened. And he threw his bat down and sprinted down to first like nothing had happened. Like I had thrown the ball 20 miles an hour. He's going to let me know that, don't worry, kid, no problem.
Never let the pitcher know he hurt you.
If possible.
Because sometimes he does hurt you.
And you just got to never let him know.
Well, Hudson's got 16 hits this year, just 4 sacrifices, so there's no guarantee he's bunting, although he squares and fouls it off.
Oh, he's got to get him over here. This is such an important game for both teams, and they're all going to count from this point on.
Escobar, not a stolen base threat. He's got 4 this year. And again, the bunt was on. Hudson was moving up the bat handle as Maine threw over.
Well, the Phillies come here after the Mets leave, which will be an interesting series.
Phillies are up 6-0 on the Marlins as they play in the 4th inning in Florida. So the Mets are not getting any help tonight. Hudson pops the bunt foul, and now Maine's ahead 0-2.
Well, that might be the reason why Tim Hudson has only 4 sacrifices this year.
Well, Ronnie mentioned it earlier. He was a great hitter at Auburn. They would DH him on days that he didn't pitch. He had 18 home runs one year in college.
He's such a good athlete. If you're a good athlete, you can learn how to bunt. Just hard work.
You wouldn't expect the bunt to be on 2 strikes the way he's been able to hit this year, but it is. And he lays off 1-2.
Well, he just got bad form. If you watch him, he's holding that bat straight up and down. What you want to do is get bend in your knees. You put that bat right over the top of the strike zone, right where it's the highest strike, and that way you can move down from there. Any pitch above that where you put the bat, you know it's a ball. But watch where he puts the bat. See how it's almost straight up and down? You want it more level over the plate.
Escobar runs. It's bunted foul, strike 3. So Escobar will have to come back. It's a strikeout for Maine, his 4th of the night. And, you know, those good hitters, sometimes they don't bunt well.
Look at that form. I mean, the bat is almost straight up and down. You want it, Keith, right? Level over the plate.
Because now you got to get it level.
Yeah.
So you want no movement. It's already in a position. All you got to do is go up and down with the level of the pitch.
Yeah, you're right.
And David Wright was playing so aggressively in, as he has been doing all year, that it put the pressure on Hudson to bunt to Delgado at first base.
If you take that bat and lean over the plate and you put it at the highest point of the strike zone and you're reaching over so the end of the bat's on the outside corner, it really helps you know the strike zones, because anything outside of the bat or over the bat is a ball.
So Escobar at first and 1 out, and now Kelly Johnson, who was singled in the first inning, then was caught stealing. No score. We're in the third. And Johnson grounds one slowly to right. His only play will be to first, in time to get Johnson for the second out as Escobar moves up to second. From a talking dog that loves martinis to a wisecracking baby bent on ruling the world, you're just 10 days away from meeting the funniest family on TV. Catch the animated antics of Family Guy twice a night on the CW11 starting September 10th. Don't miss Family Guy weeknights at 7:30 and 11 right here on the CW11. And you're not going to believe what we've got in the booth today. We have got an official CW11 Stewie head.
That's for your sons.
Diaz hits one deep down the right field line, but foul.
And Diaz was sitting on that breaking ball. Remember the first at bat, he struck out looking very bad on breaking stuff, and he was just sitting all over that slider.
Now, you're not a Family Guy guy, I know.
No.
But this would have to scare you looking at this Stewie head, wouldn't it?
Yes.
What would you do with this?
Well, your son would get very upset with me if I fired it.
Oh, I'm sure we can find another one if you'd like to send it out to the fans here in Atlanta. Diaz struck out his first time, and he was fooled by Maine. It's 0-2.
Well, Diaz has got a funny swing. He's got a bit of an uppercut. It's a swing I wouldn't teach, but it works for him.
It's upper swing, but it's kind of short, right?
It's short. He's a breaking ball hitter.
Maine's ahead 0-2. And he misses with the slider. Struck him out with that pitch his first time up.
And Diaz hitting the 2-strike RBI, which is the 2-out RBI is the toughest, as we've always said. And he's hits .225 on the season with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. Way off the plate.
Another slider, got him. So John Maine, it's a good breaking ball tonight. He's got 5 strikeouts through the first 3 innings. Pitchers duel going here in Atlanta. Maine and Hudson, no score as we go to the 4th. Let's check out the Mets' upcoming schedule, brought to you by Volkswagen. Tomorrow afternoon, Mike Pelfrey makes the start for the Mets. That's a Fox telecast. We're back with you on SNY Sunday afternoon for Tom Glavine against John Smoltz. Round 3 or 4?
3, I think.
At least. Anyway, then Cincinnati Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and that looking very likely as though Pedro Martinez will pitch Monday in Cincinnati. Luis Castillo leads off, grounded out to short his first time up. And he drops down a bunt, and McCann pounces on it quickly. Good stretch by Teixeira. Castillo retired, 1 away.
Well, just didn't push the bunt out far enough down the line. McCann all over it. Nice stretch by Teixeira. Just didn't get it down the line enough. Teixeira, of course, giving him a nice target inside the line. He knows what he's doing over there. He's won the goal twice.
Here's David Wright, who grounded out to short his first time up. The Mets, their first game here at Turner Field this season, won 11-1. Since then, before tonight, the Mets have played 5 more games at Turner Field and scored a total of 10 runs in those 5 games. And they've been shut out so far tonight by Hudson, who misses away, and Wright held the swing in time. Jeff Kellogg with the call, and it's 2-0.
Just a good eye by David right there. That was a real tough slider to lay off.
Hudson among the best control pitchers in the league, just 2.2 walks per 9 innings. And he's behind on Wright, 3-0.
Give David a hit sign here, or he's so hot, I think I would. At least give him the option.
Very rarely swings 3-0, does he?
No.
I think as he gets more years under his belt, I think he might be more inclined maybe to pick his spots.
3-1 fouled away, and Hudson works his way back to a full count.
And have himself 50, 60, 70 at bats against certain pitchers that, you know, he's been in that situation before. He knows what pitch he's going to get.
Never had much luck against Hudson now, just 6 for 29.
I like the fact that Hudson fell behind 3-1 there and threw a fastball right down the pipe on David. Just took his chances.
See Hudson putting that rosin bag all over his wrist and forearm. When you start sweating, it starts slipping down to your fingers, so you try to stop it with that rosin bag.
Right grounds one foul. Down past Sandy Alomar, 3-2.
And as we've said so many times, it's just so baffling. David has 104 strikeouts this year and such a good 2-strike hitter. You'd say, what, good 2-strike hitter, 104 strikeouts? No. Well, he is.
And that's in for a call, strike 3. Hudson painting beautifully his first strikeout of the night.
Well, so different from the Philadelphia Phillies series where the umpire is so reluctant to call strikes. This umpire, 180 degrees different than Mike Riley, that he's aggressive, is calling strikes and calling Hudson strikes down in the strike zone.
He's a pitcher's umpire, and he's fair. He's been consistent.
So 2 out and nobody on. Here's Beltran, who's been the Mets' only base runner, singled up the middle his first time up. And he lines one into right center, a base hit. Frank Kerr gets over, slides, cuts it off, falls down. Beltran holds at first. If it was a different right fielder, he might have tried for 2 with 2 out, but Frank Kerr's got such a great arm that once he stopped it, Beltran was not going to try.
Well, good signs that Beltran's bat's coming back to life. There's that pitch he likes, that fastball belt high. Mistake by Hudson, and just a fine play by Frank Kerr to get over there, dive, get the ball, come up firing.
Didn't even get a good grip on that ball.
Well,
but don't you think with a different right fielder, once he's down on the ground, that Beltran tries it?
He would try it, absolutely, but not with that gun out there.
Frank Kerr with 18 outfield assists to lead the league. Normally, the guy who leads the league in outfield assists is the guy who doesn't have a great arm. But Frank Kerr is just, I mean, he's so head and shoulders above anybody else in the league right now. Here's Alou, who flied to right his first time.
Hudson paid a lot of attention to Beltran in back in the second inning. And here again throwing over, and wisely so.
The Marlins have scratched back with a run in the bottom of the 4th off Kyle Kendrick. Phillies 6, Marlins 1.
Something tells me those Philly games are never secure. Those leads.
Well, just as the Mets had to use a lot of bullpen the last few days, so did the Phillies. So if Kendrick doesn't go deep, who knows what might happen.
Alfonseca and Mesa look gassed just from walking in from the bullpen.
That's a big lead by Beltran.
Not going, and Alou takes just off the plate, but he went around. First base umpire Jeff Kellogg says he swung.
Well, let's take a look. Ronnie,
Well,
you like it?
I like it. I thought that was a good call.
All right.
And Moises did not argue.
Right.
I'm not sure Moises knew. He had turned around and walked away before they called that a strike.
But he's a veteran. He knew when the crowd cheered that it had been called a strike by the umpire.
And I think the hitters today know that it's almost automatic they're going to ring you up on a check swing today.
Alou, 9 home runs, 31 RBIs. Fouls it away, and now Hudson's got a 2-strike advantage. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, Kevin Burkhardt. Bottom of the hour. With you from Turner Field in Atlanta. Mets and Braves, no score as we play in the 4th. Mets lead down to just 2 games over the Phillies, 4.5 over the Braves in the National League East. Mets have lost 5 games in a row, matching their longest losing streak of the season. The Mets have never had in their entire history a 6-game losing streak in which they started and finished in first place. They're trying to avoid that dubious honor tonight. Let's see if Beltran goes on 0-2. He does not, and they pitch out.
Well, will they do it twice? This might be the pitch to steal.
Well, sometimes you have a hunch that he's stealing and you'll do it twice, but you have a better chance doing it twice with Hudson because he has such great control that he can come back from throwing 2 pitch outs.
Mets in their black tops tonight. And hats. My favorite.
Men in black. Now Luke cranks one up the middle for a base hit. Beltran to second. He'll stop there as Andrew Jones scoops it up. And the Mets with a couple of 2-out hits off Hudson. And now Carlos Delgado.
Well, hanging slider here, probably the first one that Hudson, I think, has thrown tonight. And defense, defense, defense. Front court doesn't cut that ball off by Beltran. That's a run for the Mets.
Absolutely. And also, too, that is the pitch that Alou loves, that up and in, anything up and in. And I think because he had 2 strikes on him, he shortened up. If he'd have been ahead in the count with that kind of pitch, he would have had more of a healthy cut on that. That is not where you want to leave it for Moises Alou.
So 2 out and 2 on for Delgado, who grounded out to Teixeira his first time up. They don't put on the overshift against Delgado, but they do move Kelly Johnson significantly back into shallow right field.
See, I wouldn't with the sinker ball pitcher, and what Delgado did in Philadelphia, hit the ball the other way. I would bring that shortstop over a lot more and not give him that hole between third and short.
Remember yesterday, Delgado drove in the last Met run with a slow grounder to short.
You see Moises right there on the barrel of the bat. Interesting how he always brings that lead elbow into his body. That's what makes him so quick inside. And again, something I wouldn't teach, but whatever works.
Delgado hits it in the air to deep center field. Back goes Andrew Jones looking up at the wall, and it's out of here. Carlos Delgado with a 3-run homer to dead center. His 20th home run of the year, and the Mets jump out to a 3-0 lead. Well, he came alive in Philadelphia, and this may be as important a home run as the Mets have had all season long as they bust open against Tim Hudson.
Well, he started going the other way, and that's what brings it back. He's been out in front so much all season. And in important games like this, you know everybody's fired up.
Now LaDuca takes ball 1.
And this is a hanging slider again. Right down Broadway. Right into the wheelhouse, and Delgado just crushes it.
20 home runs, 77 RBIs for Delgado. All this after 2 out and nobody on. And LaDuca hits it high, but on one hop to Escobar, who throws him out to end the inning. But Carlos Delgado with career home run number 427, moving him past Billy Williams, alone into 38th place all time, and the Mets have a 3-0 lead. Carlos Delgado cracks the scoreless tie as we check our first run recap, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. First, second, and third runs supplied by Mr. Delgado.
Well, he had the great playoff last year, the great postseason, and if that man can get hot right there and swing the bat like he's capable this last month of the season, and could be Katie by the door.
Well, because of this week against the Philadelphia Phillies, everyone's in it. Now it really is a race in September. Last day of August today. It's a team that plays the best in September that's going to the postseason.
Now Chipper Jones against the heart of the John Maine against the heart of the batting order, with Chipper Jones leading off.
Well,
he hasn't always had a reason to smile this season.
No, I tell you what, it has really been for 5 months. It's been a struggle for him. It has been an off year for him. But he always keeps his even keel and doesn't display emotion.
2-0 to Chipper. And Maine falls behind 3-0. And, well, if you're John Maine, you know what your task is right now.
Well, arguably there's going to be a few big innings in this rest of the season. This is the first of them.
And he walks Chipper Jones on 4 pitches, which is the last thing in the world that Maine wanted to do after being handed a 3-0 lead.
And enough to make that man right there, Rick Peterson, go to the Rolade bottle. It's just interesting when you're, how many times you have a 0-0 scoreless game and a team scores a run. It kind of like breaks the charm.
Yeah.
And you got a pitcher out there cruising and walk Chipper on 4 pitches. Just like I can't put my finger on it, but it happens so many times.
Here's Mark Teixeira, who grounded out to Delgado his first trip. And he attacks the first one and fouls it off. Remember in Maine's start against the Braves 3 weeks ago, he gave up home runs to Chipper and to Teixeira that really put a crimp in his night. In the air to center, playable for Beltran. One away, Chipper back to first.
Boy, he had a pitch to hit there. You know, he wouldn't be successful for pitcher if he didn't get away with occasional mistake, and this was one right here.
Oh, fastball wheelhouse, and look at the reaction of Teixeira. He knew it. Ball just kind of sank a little bit, Ronnie, away from the power end of the bat. He tried to pull it. If he'd have gone to left center field, he probably would have driven that thing a mile. But that's all split-second judgments right there.
1 out and 1 on. Brian McCann takes wide. McCann fouled out to Loduca his first trip. If you missed all the pitching news for the Mets earlier, Pedro Martinez threw a bullpen session today. And in the wake of that, it was announced that he will pitch Monday either for the Brooklyn Cyclones or for the New York Mets. And you would have to say, unless Pedro wakes up tomorrow and something is particularly wrong, he'll be pitching for the Mets in Cincinnati Monday afternoon. And the reason that becomes more urgent is because Orlando Hernandez went back to New York today and had a cortisone shot in his right foot. He's having problems with a tendon on the bottom of his right foot. And he is going to be probably pushed back at least a few days and maybe miss a whole start. McCann fouls it back.
And of course, El Duque's right foot is more important for him than arguably any right-handed pitcher in baseball, because he has that high leg kick where he stands on his toe of his back right foot before he proceeds to the plate.
Well, last year we had the saga of Pedro's toe, which he so violently kicks the rubber with when he delivers. And now it's El Duque's foot. The other news is that Mike Pelfrey will come up to pitch tomorrow for the Mets in what had been Brian Lawrence's spot in the rotation. And the Mets will call up 2 other pitchers tomorrow with the rosters expanding. Philip Umbro will join the team, and so will a little left-hander named Willie Collazo, who had a nice year at New Orleans this year. Maine deflects it right to Reyes on the bag. Throw to first, wide, and Delgado with the tag. Your vintage 1-6-3 double play. Maine with the perfect deflection to Reyes to get it started and get the Mets out of the 4th inning. So Maine with a leadoff walk, no damage. Mets come to bat in the 5th inning with a 3-0 lead, thanks to Carlos Delgado's 3-run homer in the 4th. Just about a full house here in Atlanta tonight, which is an amazing thing on this of all nights. Andy Chavez leads off, drops down a bunt. McCann pounces on another one. Does he have time? He does. Same spot that Castillo's bunt went, and the same result, McCann throwing out Chavez.
Well, we're seeing right here the same bunt exactly, and this is the kind of pressure the Mets, now that they're fully healthy, and also with the addition of Castillo, the pressure they can kind of put on a defense with Reyes, Castillo, Chavez. You got to play in at the corners.
Here's John Maine, who grounded out to Chipper his first time up, and he takes a strike.
Key to that bunt is got to get it to the grass. If both those bunts had gotten just to the grass, no chance for McCann to make the play, but they stayed right on that dirt.
Maine lifts one to right field, and Frank Kerr is there. That's the second out. So 2 out and nobody on. Well, you know all about the fact that the Mets have struggled here at Turner Field. 24-44 since 2000. It opened for baseball in 1997, and There were some pretty ugly games here before 2000 for the Mets, including the last weekend of the 1998 season when they only had to win 1 out of 3 to win the wild card, or at least get a tie for the wild card, and they got swept.
Well, the amazing thing is only winning 3 season series over that period of time. Of course, last year was one of them.
But one of them was in 1995 when the Braves won their World Series.
Right. Well, the Braves have been the dominant team in the National League over the last 2 decades. They have been able to perpetually retool through their farm system, make good trades, smart free agent signings, let players go at the right time. They've just been incredibly well run. 1-2, and you know, the consistency of Bobby Cox and John Sherholtz at the helm of that organization has meant everything.
Absolutely.
John Schultz and Bobby Cox without peer to me.
Reyes is 0 for 2, 1 for his last 18. And Hudson bounced it. I was going to mention before, big crowd tonight, surprising in that tonight is the opening night of the Georgia high school football season, which in these parts carries a lot of weight. And yet, Braves fans have come out in droves tonight.
Well, they don't have Friday night lights just in Texas. Have it here in Georgia also.
Did you get stuck in traffic in the cab today, Ron?
No, I was on the team bus. And I very rarely take the team bus, but I was on the team bus. And at one point, I thought that Alou and Beltran, who were on the bus too, weren't going to make the game. I mean, that's how slow it was.
Yeah. I had a cab driver that took me every side road there was.
I had one of those too.
Reyes drives it to deep right field, headed toward the wall, and it's out of here. Jose Reyes with his 10th home run of the year, and it's 4-0 New York. Tim Hudson had the lowest home run percentage against him in the major leagues this season. But the Mets have taken him deep twice in the last 2 innings. Reyes, who had been in a big-time slump this week, breaks out of it big time with a home run.
Well, up and in fastball, and he just turned on it. And Hudson can't live upstairs. That's the 101st run scored for Reyes also. And we'll get to that replay. And this is just ripped. Up and in. Watch, it's up. Came back out over the plate. It's not a mistake. And that's the mistake that those sinker ball pitchers can make trying to come into lefties. That ball bleeds back out over the plate.
Castillo takes it low. Hudson had allowed just 5 home runs this season in 183 2/3 innings. That's a home run every 36 2/3, the lowest home run rate in the majors. And the Mets have hit 2. Castillo slaps one to short, backhanded by Escobar. Side retired, but Reyes adds to the Mets lead with his 10th home run of the season. Delgado 3-run homer in the 4th. Reyes solo job in the 5th. And the Mets out to a 4-0 lead in Atlanta. We're going to the bottom of the 5th inning at Turner Field, and things have gone the Mets' way so far tonight. John Maine has allowed just 2 hits over the first 4 innings, and now staked to a 4-0 lead on home runs by Delgado and Reyes. The first time this season that Tim Hudson's given up 2 home runs in a game. Last time he did that, September of last year against the Phillies. Jeff Francoeur leads off and pops the first pitch up. Reyes in right, and Reyes takes charge. 1 pitch and 1 out for Maine in the 5th. Well, in the last inning, John Maine accomplished something that he hadn't in ages. With this deflection off his glove, a 1-6-3 double play. Why is that significant? Because John Maine had gone 20 straight starts without generating a ground ball double play, which was the longest streak in Mets history for any starting pitcher not getting a ground ball double play. And I don't even have to give you 2 guesses as to whose record he broke.
Whose record did he break, Keith, you think? No
Roger?
double plays. No double plays.
Oh, no, it's Sid.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Sid Fernandez had 19 straight starts in 91 and 92 in which he did not get a double play. Maine broke that record with 20. 2-0 to Andrew Jones, and he swings and misses at the slider. 2-1.
This is the most use of the slider I've ever seen from John Maine.
He struck out Andrew his first time up. And it's in for a strike, and it's 2-2.
Well, I'll tell you what, if he's got good pitch count and he's throwing like this in the 8th inning, after 7, son, give me 8. And if he has a good 8, son, give me 9.
Well, that's 65 pitches now with 1 out in the 5th inning. But, you know, Maine sometimes has those innings around this point in the game where it's hard for him to close things out neatly.
Yeah. Especially here in the second half.
2-2 to Andrew. Slowly hit. Right coming in. Does the tap. And Delgado with the tag. 2 men down.
Charlie Sheen's a smooth operator. John Cryer's a bundle of nerves. Together, they're a lot of fun to watch. The Dysfunctional Family Fun starts September 10th when the Emmy-nominated hit comedy 2.5 Men joins the CW11 family. Weeknights at 7 and 11:30 starting September 10th right here on the CW11. So they didn't give us a 2.5 Men doll. we've got our Stewie doll here. At least his head.
Well, you're talking about that, Keith, but John in his last 6 starts has not gotten into the 6th inning. You know, so that's been a struggle for him.
Well, the contrast between his pre-All-Star and post-All-Star game numbers are stark. Escobar hits it hard to the hole. Reyes on the backhand, a long throw to make, and he got him side retired. John Maine with his first 1-2-3 inning of the night, and he's got 5 shutout innings under his belt. With help from Reyes using that strong right arm to throw out Escobar, it's 4-0 New York. We go to the 6th inning in Atlanta, opening of a 3-game series. Mets trying to snap a 5-game losing streak and working with a 4-0 lead in the heart of the batting order coming up against Tim Hudson in the 6th. David Wright is 0 for 2. He's grounded to short and taking a call 3rd strike. And David lines a base hit to left. Diaz chases it, cuts it off. Wright with the turn, holds on with a leadoff single. Well, Hudson had been cruising until he struck out Wright in the 4th. And then he's given up 5 hits, including 2 home runs to the last 9 batters.
Another hanging slider run.
Yeah. But has been his nemesis these last few innings. That slider just hangs right in the middle of the plate. Doesn't have any downward movement. Just kind of sweeps across the plane of the bat.
So Wright, who stole his 30th base yesterday in Philadelphia, aboard for Beltran, who's 2 for 2. And Carlos grounds a double play ball right at Johnson. To Escobar and back to first, but in time. Oh, I'm not sure about that. But first base umpire Jeff Kellogg calls him out, and no argument from Beltran or from Ricky Henderson. 4-6-3 double play. Willie's not quite so sure.
Oh, I think that Carlos said a few choice words. I thought he beat this. He'll take another look.
Sure looked that way with a naked eye.
That's close right there. It's tough to tell.
So 2 pitches by Hudson. A first pitch single by Wright. Second pitch double play ball from Beltran. 2 out and nobody on. And now Lute takes ball 1. No, Willie had plenty of complaints about the umpiring in Philadelphia.
Rightfully so.
2-0 to Alou.
Here it is again. Safe.
Yeah.
Not by a lot, though. But it did look as though he beat it. Now Lou hits it in the air to deep left field. Back goes Diaz onto the track near the wall. He makes a nice backhand catch. Matt Diaz not known for his defense, but he made a terrific play there to take an extra base hit away from Moises Alou. Tracking it nicely and a good backhand grab to end the inning. Still 4-0.
And welcome back to Atlanta, where the Mets are leading the Braves. John Maine throwing a shutout, and Pedro Martinez throwing a bullpen session here today at Turner Field. And I'm no pitching coach, but he looked pretty good to me. He's really spotting that changeup on both sides of the plate, and certainly the Mets personnel was very high on the effort that he showed today. And you talk about not only that, but what he does, his presence to his teammates. And I think Moises Alou summed it up best. Said, you know what? Part of the reason I came here was to play with Pedro Martinez. And I asked him, what about his clubhouse presence, the jokes, the fun, the looseness? He said, well, it's true. He does keep us loose, but that's really not the big thing with him. The reason why he keeps us loose is because he's great. And his greatness allowed us to be loose knowing that he's going to be out there pitching for us. I thought that was an interesting take. Back upstairs to the booth, guys.
All right, Kevin. Pete Orr pinch hitting for Tim Hudson, and he lofts one over Reyes' head for just the 3rd Atlanta hit of the game. So Orr, who was just recalled from the minor leagues on Monday, has himself a pinch hit single to lead off the bottom of the 6th. So Hudson done after 6 innings, 3 great ones and then 3 shaky ones. And here's Kelly Johnson with a man aboard. It's the 4th time in 6 innings that the Braves have had the leadoff man on. In the 1st inning, Johnson led off with a base hit but was caught stealing. In the 3rd, Escobar was hit by a pitch but was stranded. In the 4th, Chipper led off with a walk, but he was erased on a double play. And now Orr leads off with a base hit in the 6th.
And here's that dangerous territory we've been talking about with John Maine, now into the 6th inning. This is the inning that's given him the most trouble in the last 4 or 5 starts.
Jose Ascanio up in the Braves bullpen.
One of the 2 guys they've called up recently in that Brave bullpen.
Looked like Ron Mayhay was about to get up as well. The lefty. 3-0 now to Johnson. So Maine, who has walked 1 and struck out 5, trying to avoid digging himself a hole with the big bats coming up. 3-1 to Kelly. John Maine bidding tonight for his 14th win of the season. He had 10 of them before the All-Star break. And he just walked Kelly Johnson, and now there are 2 men on. Second walk given up by Maine. And now he'll have to take on Matt Diaz with a couple of runners on base.
See Willie shouting encouragements to Paul LaDuca. Come on, let's go.
Well, we mentioned Maine before the All-Star break. 10-4 with a 2.71 ERA. Since the All-Star break, 3-4 with a 5.94 ERA. And I think that tells just about the whole story.
All of a sudden it's left. It's a good time for LaDuca to come out and have a chat. That was a helicopter big time.
This is where we talked about it this season now because of the tightness of the race. This really becomes a gut check kind of time as Willie's going to the phone and the bullpen. And it's not only a gut check time for the whole month, it's a gut check time within innings. This is a chance where John Maine's got to buckle down and get through this inning somehow. Give that bullpen a rest. Go deep into this game.
In tight to Diaz, and it's 2-0.
And Diaz was sitting on a fastball.
Ronnie, how much does the accumulation of innings across the season for a guy like Maine impact him as he gets deeper into a game like this in late August?
Yeah, it definitely can impact him, but what you have to do is mentally, you got to try to fight it off. I can only tell you about my own experience. You know, you see the previous highs, and then this year, in my rookie year, my first full year, I went 12-8 or 12-9, I think, 12-9. But I had 9 wins in the first half. I did not make the All-Star team. That really disappointed me when I believed all the hype that was in the New York papers that he should be on the All-Star team. I didn't make it. That really disheartened me. And then, as we see Jorge Sosa in the bullpen, what was I saying?
You said you were disheartened.
Yeah,
about
so
making the
I was
All-Star team.
disheartened about the All-Star, not making the All-Star team. And then as I got to this point, I don't know how many innings I pitched my rookie year, 200 something. I started to get to the point where I was physically gassed. And that's where maybe Mr. Maine can get, but you're in a pennant race. Can't allow it to be that way.
2-0 to Diaz.
Oh, he swung at ball 3.
Well, he threw him a breaking ball on 2-0, which Diaz wasn't expecting.
And not a good one, Ronnie.
Yeah, another one up in the strike zone. So I guess what I'm saying is that I didn't deal with it mentally as well as I should have. And hopefully with all that experience on the Met bench with Tommy Glavine, etc., they'll be able to help John in that way.
This is a huge batter for Maine. You got Chipper Jones on deck. If Diaz gets aboard, then Chipper comes up as the tying run in a 4-0 game, and we know how quickly Chipper can change a game. So this becomes a huge battle.
Just amazing how John Maine can lose focus.
3-1 to Diaz. And he walked him. And the bases are loaded. Nobody out. And Chipper Jones comes up as the tying run. Back-to-back walks issued by Maine, his second and third of the night. Chipper tonight has struck out and walked. He had a home run against Maine in his start at Shea 3 weeks ago. That's a play the infield back, hoping to get a double play and happy to concede a run to do it. And Chipper takes a changeup off the plate, 1-0.
Yeah, good pitch by John. And Chipper, the veteran hitter, taking it. Not a good pitch to hit.
Popped up. Infield fly rule will be invoked. The batter's out. 1 away. Huge out for John Maine. Base is still loaded with 1 away. Now he's got to take on Mark Teixeira. Teixeira has grounded to first and fly to center. 0 for 2. Bases loaded, 1 out. And again, he starts off soft, 1-0.
Well, the same way. Yep, very good, Gary. I was very curious to see the pattern. There's a pattern here. He's going to come back with it.
And it gets away from LaDuca. Here comes Orr, and he scores the first Atlanta run. It's now 4-1 New York. A wild pitch by John Maine.
Changeup, Ronnie?
Yeah, another changeup, one he just held on to too long, and LaDuca with the backhand can't get it. And Pete Orr's got good speed. That's one of his strengths.
Well, a base hit now just changes this whole ball game.
And it takes the double play out of order with runners at second and third. The infield stays back in a 4-1 game. 2-0 to Teixeira. And he pops it up. Boy. Another huge one for Maine as Delgado settles under it. 2 out. So he gets Chipper and Teixeira to pop up back-to-back, sandwiching the wild pitch. Teixeira, well, not happy.
It's that upstairs fastball that Maine. You look at the reaction of Teixeira. John Maine has that sneaky fastball upstairs, much like Sid Fernandez, and get that high out, a high strike, get the pop up.
And again, do those change-ups help set up that high heat?
They do, but what happens, you get to that 2-0 count, and the hitter knows the fastball's coming. He gets it, but it was just a little too high for him to swing at.
A little bit over anxious, Gary. The changes had nothing to do with it. It was 2-0.
So now Maine has to seal the deal against another good hitter, Brian McCann, who's 0 for 2 tonight, with runners at second and third and 2 down. Started him off with a fastball in toward his knee.
Well, you got to rush him in because anything out over the plate, he shoots that ball to left center. In fact, the Mets are giving him a big hole in left center.
And again in tight, 2-0.
He's got the open base here. You don't want to. I always cringe at putting the tying run on base where a double ties the ball game. But if you get behind a very hot hitter in McCann, you know, you don't have to give in 2-0. You can make your pitch.
And he missed with a changeup, 3-0.
Oh, John's hot. You see that?
He thought that should have been a strike, that 2-0 pitch. That pitch down has been a strike all day to Mike Riley, but I think this one runs off the plate a little bit.
Just that last little movement.
Well, good by Carlos coming in.
just coming in saying, hey, don't get mad at the umpires. And I think, Keith, you said it yesterday. When you start playing poorly, everyone's your enemy. Start spending too much time worrying about the umpires. Just, hey, it's 3-0. Remember what you're supposed to do. You got a base open. You hate to put that runner on, but you also don't want to throw a cookie to Brian McCann.
Jeff Francoeur on deck. McCann takes the strike, 3-1.
Well, this is a good time maybe to throw that little sinking change right here. Run either a fastball sinking away. He tries to pull it. He's going to play Pepper with second base.
This will be Maine's 94th pitch of the night. Swing and a miss, 3-2.
And there's that upstairs fastball. If you're a hitter hitting against John Maine, you got to tell yourself to lay off that high fastball.
And after these 2 fastballs, isn't it that he is right now trying to turn it up a notch with one more heater maybe?
3-2 to McCann. In there for a call, strike 3.
John Maine limits the damage in the 6th. A couple of pop-ups and a strikeout. A wild pitch costs him a run, but he goes to the dugout with a 4-1 lead. Quite an effort by John Maine. Bases loaded, nobody out. 3, 4, 5 hitters coming up, and he escapes with just 1 run.
It's a pitch that Mike Riley, the home plate umpire, has been calling all night. He's saying it's down, but anyone who should know the strike zone should be Brian McCann. He's been catching that ball down from Hudson all night long.
Look at Bobby.
Well, Bobby's never seen a strike against his player that he's liked.
That's right. Oh. Nicely done. Go out there and finish it.
Well, they need at least 1 more inning from Maine, who's thrown 95 pitches tonight. Ron Mayhay comes on to pitch for the Braves in back of Hudson.
Well, Mayhay is a veteran left-hander. He's appeared in over 300 games coming into this season. See, he's pitched very well since being with the Braves. Good veteran left-hander.
Carlos Delgado has the biggest hit in this game, a 3-run homer, and he takes a big cut and fouls the first one back from Mayhay. Delgado hit one over the center field fence for his 20th home run of the year. Now has 77 runs batted in to break up a scoreless game in the 4th. And he hits another one deep to left center field. Back goes Andrew Jones to the warning track, and he has enough room to make the catch. Delgado making a bid for his 2nd home run of the night, but Andrew ran it down, 1 away.
Well, another good at bat by Delgado, and this is promising. Look at him stay in and go that way with a slider out over the plate. I like what I've seen from him tonight more than I did in Philly, Gary.
So I guess you can work on your hitting all you want, but you don't get your confidence back until you start getting some hits and hitting some bombs, especially if you're a power hitter.
So 1 away. Here's Loduca, who's been up twice and grounded out both times against Hudson, who went 6 innings, allowed 4 runs and 6 hits, and threw only 66 pitches. And at this point in the season, that might give Bobby Cox the leeway to bring him back on short rest against the Phillies. And maybe that was part of the consideration in taking him out for a pinch hitter. 2-0 to Loduca.
Well, Hudson, although his second half was 7-1 with a 2.63, his August was 4-1, but almost a 4 earned run average.
That was that last start against the Cardinals when he gave up 5 runs as Loduca lines a base hit into left field. And the Mets have a 1-out base runner. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Infinity, makers of the all-new 306 horsepower G. Infinity, design beyond machine. So 1 out and 1 on. Now Andy Chavez chopped one off the plate, and Hudson threw him out in the 3rd. Then he tried to bunt his way on, and McCann threw him out in the 5th. Ron Mayhay, who began his career as an outfielder, in fact got to the big leagues as an outfielder after the ignominious label of it being a replacement player in the spring training of 1995. He was in fact the first of the replacement players to make it to the majors in '95 with the Red Sox. But the next year they took away his bat, gave him a toe plate, and he's been a pitcher ever since. And now 36 years old. 1-1 to Endy. On the ground to second, should be 2. Johnson to Escobar, 4-6-3 double play. The second in 2 innings turned by the Braves. 7th inning stretch time in Atlanta, 4-1 New York. The Mets Brain Trust, Omar Minaya, Tony Bernazard. As you check out the Infinity line score, the Mets with a 4-1 lead as we go to the bottom of the 7th. Omar's had a very busy day with all the Pedro and Duque comings and going.
Nice shot by our director, Tony Lonnie. Life in a fishbowl.
This week's Mets CW11 poll question is brought to you by NYPD Recruitment. Apply now for the next exam at NYPDRecruit.com or call 212-RECRUIT. Who's had the greatest impact off the bench for the Mets? Millage, Gotay, Castro.
Wow.
Castro gets the nod.
Ramon, get healthy.
Log on to CW11.com to vote for next week's poll question. Jeff Francoeur leads off in the home 7th against Johnny Maine. And he takes a strike. I would put Endy Chavez at the top of that list. Well, and Anderson's been pretty good too, hasn't he?
Yeah.
For the last month.
I do have to say, though, Lastings Millage with a nice at-bat in yesterday's ball game coming off the bench.
The whole business started for the Mets in that 8th inning. 1-2 to Francoeur, who was single to left and popped to short. Well, the Mets would be thrilled to get 7 out of Maine tonight. They wouldn't mind 8, but they'll settle for 7.
Well, they were thrilled to get 7 out of Glavine back in Philly.
But that was with a 2-run lead that got away. 2-2 to Francoeur. He's got 6, 7, and 8 in the order here in the 7th inning, with Andrew Jones and Janelle Escobar to follow. Breaking ball got him. John Maine with that slider has his 7th strikeout of the night.
Well, this is just he's taken off his slider a little bit, and you can see the down break. Nice little circle on that ball. Perfect spot, Ron.
You're right. He took a little off that as Francoeur was way ahead of it. You see Pedro.
You had to be in the Mets clubhouse today to watch Pedro walking around with ice on every part of his body, singing and dancing and laughing and greeting everybody who he hadn't seen in a few weeks.
Just so happy to be in a clubhouse with people his own age. All those kids down there were 16, 17 years old.
Andrew Jones takes a strike with the slider, and it's 1-1. That's a good point. He was probably, buying the spreads for those guys every game that he was pitching down in St. Lucie. Popped up, and Reyes settles right under it. And Maine continues to dominate, 2 out and nobody on. And if he can get a quick out here, maybe he does go out and pitch the 8th inning. Here's your Verizon high speed. Maine is topped out at 93 tonight. Tim Hudson before he exited at 94.
Well. So everybody has a defining moment in their career. Could this be it for John Maine? I mean, what a spectacular job, and particularly to put the exclamation point with that 6th inning, bases loaded, nobody out. Heart of the order.
Well, he had a pretty nice defining moment in Game 6 against the Cardinals last year. In fact, his entire postseason, really, when he was asked to step up, started Game 1 against the Dodgers after El Duque got hurt. And I think for him and Perez, I really think that postseason really bled into their success this year.
Well, in '85, we had that big series in the Cardinals. I was able to pitch a first game. I didn't factor in the decision, but pitch a good ball game. But after the game, I remember Darryl Johnson was there. He was a great baseball man, manager of the Red Sox in '75. Came up to me and said, "Son, you're a big leaguer now."
Yep.
And that was my defining game.
You matched up against Tudor.
Yep.
That was the strawberry home run off the clock against Ken Daly.
Hanging
Good
hook.
slider for a strike.
Good slider again. This one's in the middle of the plate, but sometimes you can get that strike if it starts right at him.
2-2 to Escobar, fouled away.
I think that this is an important game. Obviously, it's an important game, but as far as John Maine's career, it's his first year where he started start to finish.
Yeah.
His first bump on the road in the season from start to finish where he started, and to be able to come out of it and then pitch a game like this in this kind of pressure.
And the point where his team really needs him.
And also to recognize, as we look at the standings now, Phillies are winning, Mets winning. He's starting to realize that, okay, his fastball is his best pitch, but against some lineups, one pitch becomes more valuable than the other, and that's what he's gone through tonight with his slider.
2-2 to Escobar. Slider just missed. 3-2.
How many pitches, Gare?
110.
That's starting to push it.
He swung and missed, and he struck him out. 8 strikeouts for John Maine, and the slider has been front and center for him tonight. Another strikeout with the breaking ball. 7 strong innings from Maine. Well, the Mets came to Atlanta tonight in need of a win. 5 straight losses. Pedro Martinez in the house. The Braves the opponent. And John Maine has been terrific. Carlos Delgado broke a scoreless tie with a 3-run homer off Tim Hudson. And Jose Reyes added a home run of his own as the Mets built a 4-0 lead. One tough jam for Maine to get out of. Carlos Delgado proved to be the mentor as he got the 3, 4, and 5 hitters on 2 pop-ups and a strikeout. And the Mets with a 4-1 lead as we go to the 8th. This year, when you can't be home to watch your Mets on SNY or CW11, check out MLB.tv. Watch every out-of-market Mets game of the season live. Catch those you missed on demand or listen to every radio broadcast. Sign up today. Visit Mets.com, where baseball is always on. John Maine done after 7 terrific innings, 111 pitches, 1 run, 3 hits. And the Mets will try to get 6 outs out of their bullpen as Ruben Gotay leads off against the former Met Tyler Yates, who takes over the pitching for the Braves in the 8th, and Gotay fouls it away, 0-1.
Well, Tyler Yates, the Hawaiian native, he's really struggled over his last 27 games. ERA 7.89. Opponents are hitting .333. Probably trying to nurse him through this inning.
And you see what the lefties have done against this hard-throwing right-hander. .310 batting average. Gotay trying to take advantage of that, but he's behind in the count now, 0-2.
He's got the most appearances on this ball club, but not the most innings. Moylan has the most innings.
Well, I know Gotay's behind 0-2. It's a nice inning to play for a run, just to get another run on the board.
Well, the Mets have gotten all their runs tonight via the home run. Delgado and Reyes, 2 swings of the bat for 4 runs. Gotay strokes 1 to short, and Escobar throws out Gotay, 1 away. Your Tri-State Jeep dealers, the CW11 and the Mets, are teaming up to support Operation Gratitude. Log on to CW11.com and see how you can write a letter to our servicemen and women and enter for a chance to win a Jeep Patriot. Jose Reyes drilled a home run into the seats in right field in the 5th inning, his 10th of the year. 1 for 3 on the night. And Reyes takes the fastball off the plate from Yates.
Well, a mistake by Hudson. Tried to come in. And that bled out over the middle, and Jose covered that beautifully.
Reyes had been in a 1 for 18 hole before that home run, and he drives another one down toward the right field corner, and Reyes is on the run. Frank Kerr with that great arm fields it off the wall, and Reyes will settle for a double. So Jose Reyes with back-to-back extra base hits, his 29th double of the year, and he's in scoring position with 1 out.
Another pitch in, down and in. Reyes has been covering that inner half of the plate, and boy, he just golfed that one in. Here he's smelling 3, but not with Francoeur.
Well, we'll see whether he tries to set about stealing 3rd in this spot with 1 out, and Luis Castillo up. Castillo 0 for 3 tonight, and now hitless in his last 13 at bats. And they leave the right side hole wide open for Castillo, with Johnson shading Reyes at second base. As Castillo takes a strike.
There's the defensive alignment there, as you see Kelly Johnson doing the holding. They feel that Castillo slaps the ball the other way, But he's such a good hitter. He can see that hole. He has enough back control to get something to pull. He can do it.
So Yates keeps the ball away from him, and it's 1-1.
That's what speed does. I mean, Billy Ball doesn't like guys that steal bases. Well, if you've got a truck horse out there on second base, you can play. You can't worry about him. With Reyes out there, you've got to give up on your defense to hold him close. Opens up holes.
And of course, Chipper has to play in close to guard against the ever-present bunt threat. Reyes runs. McCann with the throw into the runner. He's safe. 73rd stolen base of the year for Jose Reyes.
Well, it's just pure speed right here. They had a shot to get him. The throws on line, they may have him, but it was in towards the line. But there again, Jose forces the catcher to rush himself.
And you play that hop, and that glove comes up, and that's why Chipper couldn't tag him. So now the infield comes in, 1-2 to Castillo with 1 out. And Castillo takes low and in, 2-2.
Tough guy to strike out.
And the outfield playing very shallow.
Doesn't take a very deep fly ball to get Reyes. Would be interesting on a fly ball to Frank Kerr, wouldn't it?
Yes.
His arm against Reyes' speed. 2-2 to Castillo. In the dirt and trickling just a few feet away, so Reyes can't make a break. 3-2.
Nice block by McCann. And watch Reyes. Not a great lead. Just kind of, there he goes. Not a great jump. But it still took a perfect throw to get him.
Yeah.
That's just how fast he is. How explosive.
Three and 2 to Castillo with David Wright on deck. Fouled away. The Mets now have 174 stolen bases this year. The last team with more, the 2002 Florida Marlins, who had 177. So the Mets are getting into that pretty elite company as far as stolen bases are concerned. And there'll be a few more.
Yes.
28 games after tonight. Castillo, a broken bat grounder. Reyes holds as Yates bobbles, makes the underhand flip just in time. Well, with all the problems Yates had with that, if Reyes had broke, he would have scored, but he was not going to take a chance on the grounder to the pitcher, and now there are 2 out.
Well, you can't anticipate the pitcher bobbling and fumbling the ball as Yates did, so a good pitch just tied up Castillo.
A little hot potato there for Mr. Yates.
So now David Wright with 2 out and a runner at third.
Let's see if Reyes tries his darting down the line to maybe induce a balk from pitcher Yates.
Well, he was thinking about it, but it's just too important to run. You got your hot hitter up right here.
And David takes a strike.
David likes to look for that slider a lot.
David has a home run against Yates in 3 career at bats.
Sorry, Gare.
It's all right. Keep going. 1-1.
Just going to say that when RBI situations are out there for David, he, like all good hitters, he wants that ball out over the plate, looks to shoot it that way. And he's been swinging so much more level now, and thus the great month.
2-1 to David. They're in the 8th in Florida. The Phillies with a 7-2 lead. 8th here in Atlanta, 4-1 New York. And David grounds one to second. Kelly Johnson makes the play, and Yates is able to get out of trouble in the 8th. Reyes double a stolen base. He's left at third to the bottom of the 8th. The bullpen takes over. As we go to the bottom of the 8th on a nice night in downtown Atlanta, time for our Dodge trivia question. Prior to Reyes and Wright this season, who were the last shortstop and third base teammates to have at least 30 stolen bases in the same season? That is a great question.
I think I know that one.
Reyes just stole his 73rd base of the year, and Wright with 30 and 6 home runs away from a possible 30-30 year. And Aaron Heilman, who was passed over yesterday, is in to pitch the 8th inning tonight.
Yeah, 7 wins, 13 decisions. That's a lot of decisions for a relief pitcher for Heilman. The only problem he's had really this year is with the home run ball. 8 home runs in his 49 innings of work.
He's had a couple of days off since he pitched in Philadelphia on Wednesday night, and frankly got incredibly unlucky. That Aaron Rowan dribbler, a broken bat infield hit by Jason Worth, but he was able to get out of the bases loaded jam after the Phillies tied the game on that little dribbler. So Heilman was technically charged with a blown save in that game. Remember, Glavine threw 7 shutout innings, handed it off to the bullpen, and the bullpen gave it up. Now John Maine with 7 terrific innings hands it off to the bullpen with a 3-run lead. Willie Harris to pinch hit, and he takes low and inside. Now the bullpen for the Mets, which had been second in the league up until very recently, has just been, well, it's been awful over the last 3 weeks.
Well, that big number 7 right there under the blown saves, that hurts.
And the ERA for the bullpen in the 4 games against Philadelphia was 9.95. 12 2/3 innings, 25 hits, 4 home runs in the 4 games against the bullpen. Harris fouls it back, 1-2.
Good cut by Harris there. Aaron right there with a 3-run lead, getting ahead with the fastball. Harris 3 for 11, no RBI as a pinch hitter.
Harris had a nice year after some time with the White Sox, last year with the Red Sox where he struggled. He's hitting .294 for Atlanta overall. Pulled foul. Well, the closer by nature is the leader of any bullpen, and the closer has been struggling like everybody else lately.
It's very boring out there in the bullpen. They're great on off days. A rare off day that I used to get. I used to go out there and visit the guys.
Really?
Yes. I wasn't going to pinch hit till late in the game.
Did they make
so I'd go out for the first 6 innings and sit out there in that old crow's nest they used to have out there.
Did they make you carry the candy?
Oh, heck no. They're happy to see me.
Any new face? 2-2 to Harris. Old foul. Now, I know you, by enforcement, ended up spending some time in the bullpen late in your Mets career, but when you started, did you ever spend time out there?
No, I never did. And then when they put me out there, I could not stand it. Those relievers are crazy. They are. And they all do the same thing all at the same time. They're very superstitious. They're always trying to manage when they're going to get in a game. Do their own kind of managing out there.
Changeup misses low, and it's 3-2 to Harris.
Nice at bat here by Harris.
Well, Braves need base runners, trailing 4-1.
Got to go after him here.
3-2 to Harris. Lofted in the air down the right field side, foul, and that'll make it to the seats. Well, Harris has already seen 8 pitches during this turn at bat from Aaron Heilman.
Well, Aaron's old school going to open up tomorrow against Georgia Tech.
That would be Notre Dame.
Yes. I would say that because that cab driver drove me through the Georgia Tech campus. It was a beautiful campus.
Georgia Tech, the school that produced Mark Teixeira. 3-2 to Harris. Hit in the air, well to right center field. A long run back for Andy Chavez. Back to the track, and he makes the catch. Andy Chavez going a long, long way to run down that drive by Harris for the first out. Boy, can he play out there.
Well, a long way to run here. Not a lot of power from Harris, fortunately for Heilman. Andy playing shallow. Look at how far he had to run. And got near the wall, no fear.
I don't think there's a lot of right fielders in major leagues who can make that play.
Nice.
Well, it's one of the reasons why Andy's going to keep getting playing time. He can do some things on offense, and he can certainly play any position you ask him to in the outfield as well as anybody. Here's Kelly Johnson, who's been on base twice today with a single and a walk. And he takes a strike. It's quite an at bat for Willie Harris. And that ball hit to the warning track in right center is a home run in most National League parks. It's 390 out there in right center. This is a great, you mentioned how fast the infield is, and it is. But
and the outfield.
But the dimensions make it a terrific pitcher's park. 1 and 2 to Kelly Johnson.
Well, it's fair.
You got 390 out there.
That's a long way.
If you get in a situation where you got to go after a guy 3-2, you keep the ball on the outside part, let him hit it to the big part of the ballpark, and if he hits it out there, he deserved it.
If Yankee Stadium was the house that Ruth built, the dimension of this ballpark make it the house that Andrew Jones built.
Yeah.
And when Andrew's gone, which you presume he's going to be next year, you wonder whether the Braves are going to have a problem finding someone who can cover all that real estate out there from gap to gap. Popped up foul back and out of play.
Yeah, you make a good point, because just like we talk about Carlos Beltran, you take it for granted when he's not in there and the great plays and how easy he makes it look. Those pitchers for the Braves, if Andrew Jones is not around, when they start seeing some of those balls fall in for doubles and triples, they're going to wish that Andrew was still around.
Wouldn't it be funner if they let Andrew walk and they wind up bringing in Torrey Hunter?
Yeah. He can go get him too.
His American League counterpart. 2-2 to Johnson. Change up, loop to shallow left. A long run to come for Alou, but going out Reyes, and he makes a brilliant play. Snow cone catch for Reyes, because Alou was not going to get there, and Reyes went a healthy distance to pick off that bloop for the second out.
Well, nice play by Reyes. Alou, you're right, is not going to get there. Jose got a great jump and a snow cone. And we're wondering how they'd show up today, these Mets, after that tough series in Philly. Nice play. Well, they had their baseball shoes on tonight so far.
Reyes, a home run, a double, a nice catch. Not feeling quite as tired tonight.
A lot of times you look a lot better when you get an effort like you did from your starting pitcher tonight, Maine. That makes you look a lot better.
Here's Matt Diaz. Well, yesterday it was the Phillies who were making those plays. Aaron Rowan, Jason Worth. And here tonight, the Mets have made the plays they've needed to. They've gotten the good pitching. They've gotten a couple of home runs. And they've got a 4-1 lead with 4 outs left to get. 1-1 to Diaz. Tomorrow afternoon, Mike Pelfrey will come back and try again to get his first win of the season.
Now, are you coming to the game, or are you going to take your wife out on your anniversary?
I'm not going to come to the game.
Oh, I don't believe it.
Well,
who's going to keep score?
On the ground is short. Maybe you can do it for me, Keith. Would you like to take that role? You can even use your color coding. Reyes throws out Diaz, a 1-2 inning for Heilman with some great defense.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Sterling Mats and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Sterling Mats.
Let's check out your Audi out-of-town scoreboard as we go to the 9th inning. The Astros beat the Cubs this afternoon. Astros have gotten great pitching the last 3 days. Cecil Cooper now 3-1 as manager. Giants lead the Nationals. The game the Mets are interested in, the Phillies winning big in Florida with Kyle Kendrick pitching a good game. Giovanni Gallardo has a home run for Milwaukee in that game against the Pirates. They lead.
Who's he?
Milwaukee 2.5 behind Chicago. That's the pitcher.
Oh, okay. No wonder I never heard of him.
Another guy you've never heard of, Jose Ascanio, pitching for the Braves in the 9th as Carlos Beltran leads off.
The Venezuelan right-hander who spent the last 2 seasons in Mississippi, which is AA ball, just brought up on August 24th and has pitched well so far for Bobby Cox.
Beltran 2 for 3 tonight, and Carlos fouls one off his foot, 1-1. Well, that didn't feel very good.
Of course not. Looks like he's a sinker baller, Ronnie.
Right off the instep of Beltran.
One and one to Carlos. Right back to Ascanio. One away. And again, Teixeira has to get out of the way.
Teixeira's dodging bullets.
New York Mets baseball is brought to you by your local tri-state Volkswagen dealers. Here's Alou, who was robbed of an extra base hit on a nice play by Matt Diaz going to the left field wall his last time up. Alou 1 for 3 on the night, now has a 7-game hitting streak going. Mets got a 3-run homer from Delgado in the 4th, a solo shot from Reyes in the 5th, both against Tim Hudson. They've gotten great pitching tonight from John Maine, who allowed just 3 hits over 7 innings. They got some fine defense to help Aaron Heilman to a 1-2-3/8. And now the question is, who's pitching the bottom of the ninth?
Did I see Wagner up and loose?
Alou hits one to center field. And Andrew Jones right there. And quickly there are 2 out. And the answer is, after 45 pitches yesterday, Billy Wagner is ready to go for the bottom of the ninth today. Time for the answer to your Dodge trivia question. Last shortstop and third base teammates to have at least 30 steals in the same season. You got to go all the way back to 1988. Barry Larkin, Chris Sabo for the Cincinnati Reds.
Wow.
And that is the only other shortstop duo to do that in the last 93 years.
Sabo's got to be the only former hockey goalie to steal 40 bases.
Sabo had the funky glasses, right?
Yeah, he was just funky.
Spuds McKenzie,
Yes.
they used to call him.
Good player, though.
Hustler.
Yep.
Delgado hits another one deep to left field. Diaz going back near the wall. Leaping, he can't get this one. Bouncing away from him, and Delgado will cruise into second base with a double. This is as impressive a night of hitting as we've seen from Carlos Delgado in a long, long time.
Well, I said it earlier, Gare, and this is what he should have done from the get-go. It's a sinker away. Look at him go right with it. Not thinking about pulling. And this is off the wall. Diaz just can't quite get there. I got to believe if Endy Chavez was out there, he'd have made that play.
Well, it's very interesting that the 3 balls that he hit hard, the home run, the fly ball that was caught, and then that base hit double, all to center or to left center field. And the only out he had tonight was he pulled a ground ball to Mark Teixeira.
Loduca will be intentionally walked to bring up Endy Chavez,
Which is,
with a right-hander in the game. Rather curious.
I don't quite understand this one.
Well, he can't have any numbers against the young man. He doesn't.
Well, it's the second time in 2 days that they've walked a hitter in front of Chavez. Yesterday they walked Reyes in front of Chavez to load the bases with the Mets down by 2, and Endy promptly singled up the middle to tie the game.
Well, the only thing I can think of is Escanio in his 8 innings work. Lefties are hitting 200 against him.
Well, it's a small sample, but Bobby Cox and Roger McDowell comfortable. That was the right move. Endy is 0 for 3 tonight. Thrown out by the pitcher, thrown out by the catcher, and he grounded into a 4-6-3 double play. 2 on and 2 out, 4-1 New York, 9th inning. And it may not be Billy Wagner to pitch the bottom of the ninth, because Aaron Heilman is out on deck.
Well, I can tell by the way Ascanio is thrown already. His best pitch is his changeup. So that's the only way I can think that they walk Loduca so he get that changeup against the left-handed hitting Chavez.
Of course, when Endy's going well, he'll shoot that ball to left. But Ascanio's behind him now, 2-0.
Well, I guarantee you, if they walk Chavez, Heilman is not going to hit. Try to tack on here.
Well, if you get a few more runs, then maybe you'd like to keep Heilman in if Endy can drive in a run or two here.
Of course, but I mean, if they walk him,
There's a strike, 2 and
to
1.
load the bases. Willie's got to pinch hit. He's got Marlin on the bench and Sean, and Conine and Millage on the other side. They can't bring in a left-hander. They already wasted Mayhay. He's done.
Oh, that's a strike. How about that? 2 and 2.
He's got a lot of movement, Ron, even on the inside fastball.
Yeah, usually don't get that call when the catcher's sitting on the outside corner. He's got to reach all across the body. Usually you don't get that call.
2-2 to Chavez. Reached for and line foul. By the way, if Heilmann does come up in this inning, the only Met reliever who has had a turn at bat this year is Aaron Seeley. And normally, your relievers will get an at bat or two somewhere along the way, but Heilmann's not batted this year. Wagner hasn't batted. Nobody except for Seeley.
Hey, look at Aaron. No batting gloves. Right on, Aaron.
That's because no bat company will give him any batting gloves.
Maybe that means he's not really going to bat. 3-2 now to Chavez.
That bat looks like a toothpick in his hand, too.
I think that, Willie's strategy here with Heilmann on deck may be this. Let them go ahead and walk Chavez. I'll send up Marlon Anderson, who's got the hottest bat on the planet right now.
We've talked about even they losing the 4 straight in Philly with this full complement back. That bench is devastating. Willie's got 4 guys that he can pick from evenly left and right.
And Marlon's ready. Batting gloves on.
He just gave Willie the nod. I'm ready.
3-2. The runners get set to go. And Chavez takes ball 4. Bases loaded. Heilmann looks back in the dugout, which is where he's heading, because Marlon Anderson is going to come up to bat with the bases full.
I just don't understand the intentional walk to LaDuca. I know that LaDuca is a tough out, good RBI guy.
You just don't like walking LaDuca with a young pitcher out there. You don't know if he's going to be able to throw strikes.
And now you get Marlon Anderson up there with the bases loaded, and you just can't get Marlon out right now. He has been that good, particularly since coming over to the Mets. 7 for 17 as a pinch hitter, but more recently, 9 hits in his last 13 at bats. Including a run-scoring double in the game yesterday. Actually 9 for 14 because he made an out in his second at bat yesterday after his pinch hit double.
7 for 17 as a pinch hitter with 8 RBI. How clutch is that?
So the Mets trying to break this open, leading 4-1. Bases loaded, 2 out, top of the 9th. And Marlon lines a base hit into right center field, headed toward the gap. In to score Delgado. LaDuca right behind him. Here comes Chavez heading for the plate. Escobar's throw not in time. A 3-run bases clearing double for Marlon Anderson. The best pinch hitter on the planet has broken the game open. It's 7-1 New York.
Well, I've got to kudos to Marlon, number 1, but I've got to question the intentional pass that gave the option to Willie. The intentional pass to LaDuca with a right-hander out there. And this game is. That's another stake right there in the heart of the Braves. What clutch hitting.
You could write a pamphlet on how to pinch hit. Be ready for that first fastball.
Reyes with a big cut, misses. Reyes with a home run and a double his last 2 at bats. Also has stolen his 73rd base tonight. Well, the Mets in a game they absolutely had to stop the bleeding have done everything right tonight. Reyes pulls one foul, and it's 0-2.
I'm telling you what, this is as fine a performance as a pinch hitter that I've seen in a long, long while.
It's like Rusty back in his heyday.
It's like Rusty. It's unbelievable.
Rusty once had, what, 8 straight pinch hits?
And I used to run for Rusty, so it was great for me. I got in the game.
That's why Rusty likes you. He's forever beholden to you.
I extended his career by a few at-bats.
Marlon made an out as a pinch hitter in the game in Philly on Tuesday night. But I think he's got like 6 for his last 7 or some absurd number like that. Let's go back and check.
He flew out yesterday late.
Second at bat.
Yeah.
But that wasn't a pinch hit at bat. As he stayed in. 1-2 to Reyes. But I'll tell you what, the Mets were given a gift when the Dodgers let Anderson go. Mets are paying him next to nothing, and they're getting tremendous value. Reyes hits one deep to right. Frank Kerr going back, and he's got it to end the inning. But a 3-run
pinch hit double off the bat of Marlon Anderson has broken it open. 7-1 New York as we go to the bottom of the ninth. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Jeep, a growing line of legendary vehicles. By T-Mobile, stick together. By Nissan, reminding you to visit the Nissan Bottom Line National Sales Event before September 4th. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By Dodge, you can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. And by Earthlink high-speed internet with Time Warner Cable. Marlon Anderson, after his 3-run pinch hit double, stays in the game in left field. And not Billy Wagner, but Scott Schoenweis will try and finish off the Braves. Mets with a 7-1 lead.
Well, Scott Schoenweis got a nice out in yesterday's ball game with a strikeout. And has pitched much better, not only in the road, but I think pitched much better in the second half. He's pitched under bad luck here in the second half. He's thrown the ball much better.
They'll take on the heart of the Atlanta batting order. The last time the heart of this order came up, the game was squarely on the line. The Braves had the bases loaded and nobody out in a 4-0 game. And John Maine did an outstanding job to escape with just 1 run scoring.
Well, not only was that pinch hit as Chipper swings and misses, that pinch hit so clutch to bust open the game, it sat down Bill Wagner. He's not going to be getting work tonight if Schoenweis closes out, and that's very nice for a man that threw over 40 pitches yesterday.
1-1 to Chipper. Well, the whole Met bullpen needed a rest. And with the effort of John Maine tonight, that certainly helped. Maine going 7 innings. And, you know, with Pelfrey going tomorrow, you don't know exactly what you're going to get. And you may need a whole lot of bullpen. 1-2 to Chipper. Then the Mets have Glavine against Smoltz on Sunday afternoon. 1-2 to Chipper. Struck him out. Scott Schoenweis strikes out Chipper Jones, 1 down. Well, this was the 6th inning when the bases were loaded, nobody out, and Maine had to really bear down.
2 high fastballs. This first one to Chipper results in a pop up to right. Another high fastball to Teixeira, and ended up with a pop up to Delgado at first, and then a low fastball for strike 3 against Brian McCann. Just great pitching. Only run scoring on that wild pitch.
So the 3, 4, and 5 hitters, Chipper, Teixeira, McCann, 0 for 9 tonight. Teixeira 0 for 3, grounded out, flied out, popped up, and he lines one into the glove of right, 2-man down. Teixeira hit it hard, right snags it, and the Braves are down to their final out of the night.
Well, a bullet right here. You got a big lead. Fastball here. Hit it. You got 8 gloves out there, and David's been playing great defense. He played tremendous defense in that Phillies series. Just had a heck of a series, period, all the way around.
Don't forget, tomorrow's game is on Fox. We'll be back with you on SNY Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock. Glavine against Smoltz for the final game of this series. Here's McCann, who's 0 for 3. And he takes a strike from Schoenweis. They're in the bottom of the 9th in Florida. The Phillies leading 9-2, so it looks like the Mets, with a win tonight, will maintain a 2-game lead over the Phillies, but go 5.5 up on the Braves. 1-1 to McCann. Tom Glavine set to pitch Sunday night. Boy, was he great in Philadelphia the other night. A shame the Mets couldn't get him a win after 7 scoreless innings. McCann pulls one foul, and now the Braves are down to their final strike. Maine, Heilman, and Schoenweis have combined to retire the last 11 Braves to face them. 1-2 to McCann. Line base hit in the right center. So McCann keeps the Braves alive with a 2-out single. The first hit for those Braves 3, 4, and 5 hitters tonight. So Jeff Francoeur will get a turn with McCann aboard. Francoeur is 1 for 3, singled back in the 2nd. That's only the 4th Atlanta hit of the night.
And this Atlanta team, the #1 hitting team in the National League.
Frank Kerr goes after the high fastball, 0-1.
Well, that was not a very good swing, to say the least.
Oh, 2 to Frank Kerr. And again, Schoenweiss 1 strike away from nailing it down. Slider misses. 1-2. Devil Rays beat the Yankees tonight 9-1. Carlos Pena hit 2 more home runs. Carlos Pena has 33 home runs for Tampa Bay. 1-2 to Frank Kerr. In the air to center field, hit well. Beltran racing back to the track, makes the catch, and the ball game is over. The Mets snap their 5-game losing streak as they come to Atlanta, get great pitching from John Maine, home run hitting from Carlos Delgado and Jose Reyes, and they beat the Braves in the opening game of the series 7-1 to stay 2 games up on the Phillies, now 5.5 over the Braves in the National League East.
I think you called it right, Keith. A defining moment in the big leagues for John Maine, who comes through with a great effort. A big 3-run home run early off the bat of Carlos Delgado against one of the best pitchers in the National League, Tim Hudson, and add-on runs, something they've been missing all season long for the Mets, add up to a nice victory.
And I think that's the man right there, Carlos Delgado. Keep a close eye on him if you're Met fans. I am, because he looked like this a game right here that he may have turned a corner. We'll see if he can keep it going. He's been so inconsistent, but tonight was 4 quality at-bats.
Home run, double, long fly ball, all to center and left center. As you check out the Jeep game summary, Delgado's 3-run homer gave the Mets the lead. They never relinquished it. Marlon Anderson put the game away with a 3-run double in the 9th. John Maine with the outstanding performance for his 14th win of the season. He's 14-8. Mets win 7-1. Back in a moment. Well, while the Mets snapped their 5-game losing streak here, the Phillies won their 6th in a row in Florida 9-2 to stay 2 games behind the Mets. The Braves now 5.5 back after the Mets 7-1 victory here in Atlanta tonight.
Well, just a nice thing as far as the pitching is concerned. Nice job by the bullpen getting 2 innings of work tonight. But John Maine with his 14th win. He's got 5 or 6 starts left, depending on how close the race is, and just having an outstanding season.
Well, there's your final score tonight. The Mets 7 and the Braves 1. Our next telecast on the CW11, September the 15th at Shea. A 1 o'clock start as the Mets take on the Phillies. Coming up next, the CW11 News at 10. Well, the Mets came to Atlanta really desperate for a victory in a place where they don't often play well, but they got a great effort out of John Maine tonight. 7 strong innings. He allowed just 3 singles and struck out 8. And in a big spot, he got the big hitters in the lineup out. Carlos Delgado had the biggest hit of the night. Jose Reyes added a home run. Marlon Anderson broke the game open, and the Mets win it 7-1. For Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, and Kevin Burkhardt, I'm Gary Cohen saying so long from Atlanta.